Okay, so it's 6:30. It's Sunday morning in Ensenada, this beautiful town in northern Baja. We're back here again, having been here in 2011 for the Baja 1000. And this feels like a really different event, actually. The Norra has a very rich history and has got an incredible demographic, a broad demographic of cars here. There's a lot of cars that just you would not imagine anyone possibly putting into a race. I think for the first time we're happy to be back in Mexico. The Mint's always been really good for us, but this feels just lovely. It feels very different. It's like swapping a girlfriend for the weekend.
Once again, I find myself stepping one leg at a time into a No-Max race suit after a terrible night's sleep, wondering just how I've gotten myself into this position again. As a complete amateur and part-time fool, I have difficulty learning lessons and with age sometimes remembering them. This is always the moment when I feel like I'm going to puke, the moment of no return and the result of having made a simple statement a few months back. Hey, we should race the Mexican 1000. Now I'm here, fully committed, with my crew and everybody looking at me for results. 5 weeks ago, Team GGTR decided to enter the Norra Mexican 1000, which is the original 1,000-mile off-road race down the Baja Peninsula, created by Ed Perlman and his stuntman buddies as a race to a party at the tip of Mexico. First order of business, finding a race car that suited this classic off-road race. George Lamont, a deli salesman from Palmdale, got in touch through a posting on race-dezert.com to offer us a very unique race car from the early 90s that Nissan had spent $1 million developing. That's my favorite car ever. We're up against like all these old boys. Like this is a classic car race, so they brought their old cars, but they've been driving since the 60s.
Do you feel like the new pairing with George is working out quite well?
Yeah. I mean, he said something really funny in the car. I can't remember what it was, but...
Sounds hilarious.
Oh, he shaved his penis. He shaved his penis, and I asked if that was...
It's lucky you're not connected to the pits, because I imagine your support crew have had a conversation slightly peculiar for a top race team.
If they do find us, if God forbid something happens, we're clean down there. So. But
that was a trim, or you cut the entire hedge down?
Oh no, the whole hedge. It's all gone.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Clean.
Yeah.
You breathe a lot down there.
I can't remember if you've actually done this before.
I've always driven. I've never navigated.
We're doing a quick changeover now from the George, the owner of the car, has just passed over to Rowan from Top Gear magazine. First time ever in a truck, first time certainly in this truck, and he had been quite nervous, truthfully. So you can see we've arrived in the Bay of Los Angeles, which is about a quarter of the way down the Baja Peninsula. It's absolutely breathtaking in both its sort of simplicity and its ugliness, to be honest with you. But it is, I think, fairly Mexican, and I imagine that we will have a fairly Mexican evening here with an awful lot of drink and an awful lot of Mexican music. We don't know what's happened to the team. Hopefully they're going to arrive here safely shortly.
These guys need shots.
Oh, that's very civilized. Cheers, chaps. How did that go then?
I think the best day I've ever had in a race car. Today was amazing. Today was fast, we had fun.
It's absolutely wonderful. Almost brought a tear to my eye coming into the bay.
Brings a tear to my eye, just hearing that.
No, it does. I'm ecstatic. The car did 488 miles. It's perfect.
Why was it better than the other ones? I don't understand
It's the
car.
It's the car. It's like, it's just fun.
Did you hear that,
man.
George?
I know. It makes me.
feels like, it just feels like, you know when you put on a perfect shoe?
Yes.
It feels like that. I'm just learning how to drive it. I mean, I've spent 2 hours in it before the race, so I'm learning it on the course.
Be extremely cautious. Tomorrow is the first day when we are sharing the same course with bikes from Marco to Biscayne.
You've got a lot more colour in your cheeks than you had this morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah, because there's no, beating around the bush. I was bricking it. You can try and be, masculine about it and just, be really gusto about it. But this is a scary event, and the stats say it all. The terrain says it all. You got to kind of treat it with respect.
I feel bad now in hindsight telling you that 10 people died when they didn't.
Yeah, and the man, I don't know if the man was with the body who's never found.
No, that was another one. That I was told that, but I doubted it to be true, but I thought there's no point.
Yeah, but then you said it's Baja, which I've kind of just underlined as the excuse for everything on this trip. In life, you kind of need that sleepless night every now and again to kind of G you up and to live with a bit of jeopardy, because then you come out of it the other side, like I have today, with a massive smile on your face.
My mind is always racing with the exception of when I'm racing. I think this is ultimately what I'm seeking, a certain peace attained in chaos that you don't get anywhere else. An opportunity to quiet all the tap dancing crickets in my mind, close down all the pornography and want and ambition and fear. The inside of a race car is the only church that has ever offered me true peace of mind. When you're not paid to go racing, or someone's not picking up the tab, it adds a whole other layer. You're not driving at the limits of your ability, you're pushing the limits of what's an acceptable risk to you. At any point this car could flip, and I would be on the hook for an amount of money most people would see as a nice deposit on a first home, and I'm still a renter. I'm here with all my resources on the table, and then some, but you have to quiet it all to focus on survival and being fast.
It's 10 past 3 in the afternoon. We're in Baja Sur, the south of Baja, which is separate, and we're in a town called San Ignacio. We left at the same time as the boys and gunned it down at about 80 on the motorway, stopped for 10 minutes for some fuel, and we've arrived here thinking we'd have to wait an hour, and the boys have been here for 20 minutes, which has left me somewhat perplexed.
We were just like flying through bushes. This huge bush came through the window, which got stuck onto my glove. Couldn't see it, and he was like pulling. It was just total chaos.
Here comes our saviour. Thank God he's here, I tell you, we've missed him so much. What would be your advice to the boys of how they should play this afternoon from the point of view of if they feel they can make a little more progress if they're on a bit of a roll? What would be your philosophy on this particular stage?
I think at this point they've had a really great day so far, so I think they need to make sure that they keep it tight and keep it together, because the problem with this stage is that you're going to be going over 100 mile an hour on the pavement, and you've got some 90-degree diving turns that are really nasty off camber, so we just want to get them down there. And I think there's not a lot of passing on this stage because everyone's going flat out. It's not that rough and everyone's running high speed, so I'd say just keep up the momentum and stay in line. If you see an opportunity, obviously take it, but keep the smart head on,
Everything's going beyond what I thought it would, so as long as we finish this one, we'll finish off day 2 and be on to day 3 and meet you guys down there and have another drink tonight, because I'm excited.
Good. Skins?
I just see a stage at a time. I'm not getting excited about anything. We had fun. Let's have more fun.
When everything is going well, you cannot fathom the reality of something going wrong. By the middle of day 2, I felt like we were in it to win it. Driving at 60% and staying up with the big boys meant once I started pushing and once they started braking, we would earn our well-deserved moment of glory. But then it happened, and suddenly we went from glory to survival. Everything was working so well, and the car felt good, but then poof, it was gone, and I was struggling to keep the car on the road as the lights of the world around us dimmed. With no radio, there was no way of getting word to our crew that we weren't coming.
It's 11:15, so obviously something happened.
Yeah, we had an issue.
Yeah, I
I mean, literally, like the power steering gods had something in store for us, because the minute the power steering went, it just dropped down into this river. To fight that thing through there, pretty impossible. At a certain point, we came to a little town, found a mechanic, he fixed it, another 20 miles, and then it went again. And so the last 10 miles, fought it, and then popped out. The chase truck couldn't believe that we came. They were already talking to people about how to come get us. I mean, they couldn't have got us. We would have been out there until the morning.
So it's 7:45 a.m. The clocks have been gone forward an hour, so we've lost an hour overnight. And we have hit our first major hurdle, which has been the power steering pump went on the car yesterday. George is going to tell us a bit more now.
Yes, the power steering pump, actually it was I can't even think right now, the box that makes the car steer, and we got that, we believe, fixed. The brakes, for some reason, heated up really bad, and inside the hubs there are bearings, and the bearings actually melted to nothing. So last night about 1, another team came over, ES Motorsports, and they assisted with the build all night long. At this point, the rotor just would have exploded in the hub, and we would have, either lost a wheel or anything somewhere out in the middle of nowhere.
Funny enough, I was reading an interview with Eddie Jordan yesterday, who said his greatest fear in life is loss of brakes, having broken both his legs on a hairpin when his brakes went.
I don't believe we've been going that fast, but we had a lot of cliffs yesterday and big drop-offs, and it would have been very ugly.
They're not going to even see if it works until the start line, because they're trying to dry heat it under a lamp at the moment to glue it. The problem was much bigger than they thought. So you basically got a car that's ruined, and it's just going to have to be gently nursed all the way to the end now.
Dude, finishing is better than almost coming first. So we started day 3, stage 1, and the power steering just didn't fix. So we started the stage, the car broke down, the chase came and picked us up, and then coincidentally right next to the stage there's a junkyard, as you can see, and we're looking for a steering box for an 89 Chevy, and they have a turned over 89 Chevy, so for $70 we could be back on the road.
Want to give him a shot, by the way?
I'm just trying to find him.
What are you guys doing?
Taking the.
So we're like maybe 2 hours into trying to repair the power steering box. We've tried to get it out, but we can't because the frame is welded around it. As the junkyard family walked away, I couldn't help but think how genuine this day was. Even with a serious language barrier, we had made friends and had laughs. We became a part of their simple lives for the day, and it's something I think we'll always remember. I failed to mention that George, exhausted from a night of wrenching, wasn't capable of co-driving, and our guest co-driver, Rowan, completely abandoned us for a ride with race legend Robbie Gordon. So in return, Robbie gave us Joe, who fit effortlessly into our crew.
That's Baja. That's what it does to you. Makes you sleep anywhere and anytime.
In the end, we decided to load the race car onto the back of the truck and get to La Paz with some time and resources to try and fix the steering. We would receive a time penalty, but at least we would live to fight another day.
You gotta remember that this is Baja, and that what Baja does is it's gonna throw everything that could go wrong to you, and then you have to deal with it. And it happens to every single team, the high dollar teams, the low dollar team, it doesn't matter who it is.
A decision had to be made about staying up another night to try and resolve the steering issue, or trailering the car to a false victory the following day. Myself and Rowan and Kurt, one of the cameramen, all with little mechanical ability, decided to go for it under the direction of Sly and Darren. It was going to be a long night, but it was still going to be a fun one.
Looking sexy.
the party then?
So it is a very frenetic start to the day. The story is this: the car was never fixed overnight. We're now in a frantic rush against time to get the car ready to get off the start line, because if it doesn't get off the start line, we're not allowed to start, and that means we officially are rendered a non-starter.
We bent this fitting, which is called a -6 fitting. This is our steering box. We bent that a tiny amount when we took it out yesterday, which compromises the whole system, which is under super high pressure. So we've got 2 hours from now to get this back in, and then maybe a grace period of a half an hour to get to the start line, which is around the corner.
It's a pretty amazing feeling, actually, to walk out here this morning and see guys who haven't slept and are still trying and digging. And, it's pretty fucking emotional, actually. No matter what, we'll get it there. Even if this whole thing doesn't work, it's getting ready for the start. I know there's still an issue, but at this point, we're going to try to put it together, and at least we'll drive it to its own power there and start it. And if we have to trailer it down, we will. But hopefully this works.
It's up to Skinny and George to manage their their expectations and their physical ability to steer the car, because they're going to have to be aware that they're going to have some miles with no power steering.
I haven't had a fight with Skinny before, but I know he's quite strong, and he's also a dirty little cheat when it comes to fighting. So he'll probably do everything he can to get that across the line.
I think he will. I think he's got that in him.
Rolled 5 times on the pavement.
They said there's no way this would start. These guys here put it back together last night, wrenching on it, pulling it apart between two big trucks.
And a palm tree.
And a palm tree. This is what Baja's all about. You don't, just because you got a little mechanical, you don't stop. Just because you want to get some sleep, you don't stop. You make sure you start the next day.
It's definitely roaring at this point. I want to go to the finish line in this car. We arrived at the start line and crossed it on the minute before we would be disqualified. Normally when I leave a start line and get focused on racing, I make sure that everything is tight. Clean visor, harness is tight, chin strap snug, shoelaces laced perfectly. This was not the case today. Sitting here with a constant spittle of oily fluid onto my visor, my feet in a puddle of slippery mess, for the first time this just felt wrong. The car had started to drive itself, and no matter how hard I pulled down on the steering wheel, it was taking us into oncoming traffic. As each mile passed and we got closer to the start of the next brutal stage, I swayed between being sensible and the allure of being a hero. Ultimately, it was George and the risks I would be committing on his behalf that made me pull off the road. With a heavy heart, I gave up, and with it came a warm, soothing relief. George and I sat in the shade as a constant stream of locals pulled up to share their beers and offer their help.
Salud.
Eventually, 2 guys turned up in a truck blasting Pink Floyd and convinced George that they could fix it. Still defeated, I sat in the air-conditioned bus when suddenly Darren burst in and announced that the Mexicans had managed to fix what 2 world-class mechanics couldn't do over the last 2 days. Viva la Mexico, we're back in the race. I'd been saving a surprise for George. I'd stopped the car in the middle of the stage and told him to get into the driver's seat. Off we went. It was only fair that George gets to drive some of the final glory. We swapped back over before pulling into Cabo and arrived at the finish line as they were taking down the grandstand. Not even our crew was there to congratulate us.
We lost the Norra 1000.
I'm afraid it's a tragic byproduct of modern day life that we find so many excuses and reasons to circumvent the many adventures the world has to offer us. And that we need to constantly remind ourselves of our obligations as gentlemen to lead exciting and challenging lives.